Tina, with last show, it's all over tonight. So what were you thinking when you were watching it?
I was kind of a little bit sad. I had a great experience on the show, so to see it come to an end, it's kind of a little saddening, but at the same time, it was a great experience and time to move forward in life and in golf. And it was a good show. I thought that, I obviously knew the outcome being, there with the other girls. It was kind of interesting to see how Kim was actually 2 down for a while, and how then at the turn that she brought it back to all square, and it was some pretty good golf, minus a couple putting woes, but that seems to be the story on, I guess, our big break and really every big break. But it's a tough course, it's tough greens, so I can understand why some of the girls struggle with their putter on those.
Did you actually play on the Royal yourself? Were you out there?
Just the practice round. It's the only time I've ever played it, and actually during the practice round, I was the first group off, and we only made it to, I think the 14th or 15th hole.
Oh.
So we didn't even get to play all the holes.
Why was that?
But it might have been because there was weather moving in. I think that might have been what it was, and they wanted all of us to finish on the same exact hole. So, since I was the first group, if I would have got 18 holes in, and the last group only would have got, 14 holes in, it wouldn't have been fair. So they cut us all off, I think, on 14.
Okay. Okay, so how well did you know those 2 caddies that were out there?
They were awesome. We saw them every day. We got to know them real well over 2 weeks. They were there for a lot of the challenges and making sure that, a lot of the public couldn't see a lot of who was left, and everything like that. So, which is really tricky because, especially the time of year that we were in Hawaii, it was pretty packed. So, I think every one of the employees at the Westin had to sign waivers, and at the Sheraton had to sign waivers. So, once we got eliminated, a lot of us were out at the beach, renting towels and lounge chairs. So, if, somebody's into golf and watches the big break and he's like, oh, weren't you supposed to be out on the golf course? Well, then he obviously knows that I would have been eliminated. So they had to keep it under wraps.
Oh, that is an awful lot of waivers. Did you think that there was a turning point? Did you have any opinions on kind of how the tables turned?
The last few holes that she played that they showed, it seemed to me, not that really she lost confidence, I think she was really upset. I really think she wanted to win more than most of us really knew, because on the outside she didn't really show it too much. I think she really wanted to capitalize on getting an LPGA exemption because she hasn't played over here. But I think that I wouldn't have gave up, but I guess it's really difficult to say that because I wasn't in that situation. But it did kind of seem like she might have gave up a little bit after, she got to 2 down. It seemed to me like she was like, oh, it's over. And I think Kim started, rolling in the putts. I think when Kim made that really long par putt, that kind of shook her a little bit. And the fact that she's constantly getting outdrove by Kim by, 50 to 90 yards, probably doesn't help. Sophie isn't very long at all when I played with her in them. But, length isn't really everything, as we saw in the first, half of the show. But if you can get your putter rolling in, you are hitting the good drives, and it's really hard to contend against somebody who's doing that. I think that Sophie was great for the show. I think that, but unfortunately, the way I see it, I think Kim won, and I think she deserves it. I want to say that she deserves it more than Sophie. I think Sophie's a great girl, but Sophie at the same time hasn't really, I don't think, ever tried to go through LPGAQ school. So I don't really think that she has an ambition to really play over here. I think she's quite content with competing over in Europe and being the, sexy Italian golf girl over in Europe. At least from what I know with my own knowledge, I don't believe she's tried to qualify for the LPGA Tour over here. So, all of us, other than, Sophie, have really tried to compete out on the LPGA, and I think she kind of thought it as, well, if I win this, I could see what it's like to play golf on the LPGA over here. I think that Kim, coming down to the final 4 or 5 players, I think that Kim was the standout. I think Kim struggled a little bit in the beginning of the shows with her putter a little bit, and it showed a little bit last night as well, but overall Kim has a really, really good game. I mean, she's got she hits great bunker shots, flop shots. She's long, probably one of the more solid ball strikers that I've ever played against. I'd say her game to me is very similar to Brittany Lang's, actually. Very strong, and for Kim's size, I mean, she is tiny. So, I mean, she's got it, and I think it's a great opportunity now for her to go out and see what her game is like against the LPGA girls, and I think a great person won it, and I think, coming down to the last 4 or 5 girls, I think the better player won, so...
Yeah, we'll get to see her at Navistar in September, but that will be after Q School, I think. So that'll be interesting to see. She may have already qualified at Q School for next year and may not even need this exemption. You never know.
Well, that's the thing, because if she makes it through first stage of qualifying, she might actually make it to finals via the Futures Tour if she finishes. I think top 15 get exempt to, or physicians 6 through 15 in past have gone on to be able to compete at final stage of qualifying school without having to go out to first stage in September. So if she does that, then it would be awesome. But the thing is if she makes it to final, this is what I don't understand. Maybe you have a little bit more insight than me, but if Kim gets her LPGA card via the Futures Tour, how does the Duramed? What does she do with the Duramed entries?
That's what I was thinking. So I'm going to ask that question.
I don't even know the answer to that because I was thinking about that, as we were standing there at the trophy, ceremony, and I was just thinking to myself, if she gets her tour card next year, I wonder how they're going to go about doing that because I guess they could give it to Sophie, but Sophie doesn't want to. No offense to the Futures Tour, but going from European Tour to Futures is kind of a different game of golf, and I don't know that they would do that anyway, so it should be interesting. Hopefully she'll get her tour card, and it'll just be a prize lost, I guess, but a good one.
Maybe she'll get the cash.
That would be nice, right? Put it towards the LPGA entries.
There you go. Yeah, that would be great.
That would be good.
Yeah. Well, it's
definitely.
been a terrific few weeks talking to you after every show, and really appreciate that you contacted me to let me know that you were, looking forward to doing it. What's happening with you now? I know you're going to get married, but what's happening with your game? Have you been playing? What are you doing?
I've been practicing. I went up to Rhode Island and did the CVS charity event, which was fun, and I have a couple other outings coming up in August. One up in Chicago for the Golf Channel, and then one in Milwaukee. I'm actually going up to Washington, D.C. next week for my friend. She has a company called Play Golf Designs, and we're doing an outing for the Johns Hopkins Hospital in Washington, D.C. next week. So I'm just doing a bunch of little outings, fun stuff, and to help the bank account stay okay. And I'm really just trying to save up for LPGA Q School, which is quite expensive. A lot of people don't realize how expensive it is. It's $5,000 just to enter. And
wow.
Yeah. That's just, your entry fee. So then I got to pay all my expenses to fly out to California, and it all adds up. And I'm just trying to save up my money for that because that to me is a little bit more important than going and playing in mini tour events right now. I wish I could, but I just don't have the funding to do so. So I've heard that European Tour Q School is going to be in January this year, which is kind of nice because it's after LPGA Q School. So if for some reason I don't make LPGA status or don't even make it to finals, I can continue working on my game and try and go over and save up some more money and try and qualify maybe for the European Tour. I think it would be a fun experience, and knowing now that I know Sophie and Sam, it make it a little bit more easy. But
right. Well, it's been a real pleasure, Tina. I wish you all the best, and I sure hope we can stay in touch with each other.
Thank you. I would love to keep in touch, and thanks for having me on your blog, and I'll continue to enjoy reading it for many weeks to come.
Okay, thanks very much. You take care, all right?
You too. Okay. Bye-bye.